All right, so today we have the third episode. We have third episode of many. Today we have Joshua Ajayi, somebody who's definitely very inspiring, great mentor of mine. And Josh, if somebody watching this, they haven't a clue, a notion who you are, like who is Joshua Ajayi? Give us a bit of an intro and background on who you are.
Yes. So I'm an entrepreneur, right? So I build and run many different businesses. I started off playing League of Ireland in Ireland growing up with Longford Town. That didn't go the way I wanted. Went to university, dropped out at 18, 19. I got into door-to-door sales first. And I started knocking doors for Phone Watch. I became one of the top sales reps in Ireland, right across the country. And once I did that, I then found about this world of remote sales, right, where I could take sales calls for like companies, agencies, and influencers from my bedroom. So I started to take sales calls remote, did really well with that, got to making myself my first sort of like that like 10K a month mark where everybody really talks about. And then I started to work on building businesses in general. So I started managing sales teams for big creators that have done millions per year. I have a clothing brand as well on the side. I've got another e-commerce brand as well. And I also am the founder of Affinity Sales Training.
Mm.
In the meantime, as everything was happening, lots of people were asking Josh, how the hell are you doing this? How are you living this life? And I'm like, well, it's sales. And so we started Affinity Sales Training to be that sort of like first ladder for people because when I started, it was just myself and it was a lot harder. And so we brought my connections, coaches, and we built one of Ireland's largest independent sales training communities where you get trained in sales and then we help you get placed into a role. And that's been a very, very rewarding part of my life. We have over 400 members there. We'll be at 1,000 by the end of the year. We've done events all over Ireland, all over Europe as well. And that's something that I'm very passionate about is entrepreneurship and changing the mindset in Ireland about everything on the internet being a scam or really, really scary to, hey, the internet is real and online business is real and you can get involved. And yeah, that's a bit about myself. I'm also the founder of Payday, which is a payroll software company,
Mm.
which basically helps sales reps get paid on time because I started to find that it's hard to make sure that you got paid your commissions by companies. And so we started working on that product just over 2 years ago. And yeah, we want to be the number one in the space for making sure sales reps get paid.
Amazing, amazing, Josh. And you said something there, kind of about reframing the way that people in Ireland think, like the use of Irish, like it's not actually a
Yeah.
there is ways that you can make money online. Why do you feel like in Ireland specifically that people kind of need that reframing? Like, why do you think that there's this kind of this culture around the online space?
So I think Ireland needs a reframe because we're falling behind in terms of other countries. And I say falling behind. Obviously, we all want to complain about how the government is and stuff, but in other countries, entrepreneurship helps kickstart the economy. So the government does what they're doing, and then boom, Facebook comes out of nowhere. Boom, this company comes out of nowhere, and it makes it a little bit easier to run a country when you've got massive companies or really good businesses that are employing people and everyone's a little bit more happy. And so in Ireland, I think we're moving to an age where we need to be relying less on, the government only, and we should be relying on ourselves. And the really great way to do that is by starting a business, right? Because eventually you can employ people, you can, give people jobs, you can help people out. And so if we were a little bit open, more open to the online world, I think we would have some less issues. And I think people would be able to make more money, they'd be able to have a better income, more stability. I think the reframe of maybe why we get it from sort of maybe our older local people, and the Ireland's a very rural country. So it's very like, what happens in your town stays in your town. And so if you look at any town, it's rare that anybody has an online business. So it's not going to be the first thing that anybody tells you is real or possible because you don't see it. I'm from Cavan originally.
Yeah.
I've never seen anybody do that in Cavan. So when things are not the norm in an area, it's very, very hard to want to do it because everyone's like, no, must not be real because if it was real, other people would have done it,
Mm.
right? If it's a real way to go about your life, other people would have a business. And I think we're missing the fact that sometimes the world can change. We have to
Yeah.
be open. Another part is because of AI. AI is coming in. I'm not an AI scaremonger, but AI just made it even more easier, right? And it's two ways. AI is going to take away a lot of jobs. And so if people don't find a way to be self-sufficient, I worry for Ireland's future, for the younger people. B, it's so much more easier now to start something yourself. And I think AI is just an incredible opportunity. And I know in Ireland, there's hundreds of thousands of young people who feel deep in their heart, but are too scared to say this because of the pressure from parents, friends. And so, what I want to do is make it normal, open up conversations where it's not strange, it is normal, and other people will then join that movement as well.
And when you were young, when you were like say 16, do you kind of have that idea that kind of entrepreneurship was for you and I'm going doing this?
Never, never. I didn't even in when I was 16, I was in TY. I think we would have had what's it called? That that's something that you do for like entrepreneurship in TY. I think you got that thing that you do
Many companies.
mini company, yeah. And my mini company, me and my friends, we like kind of tried to do it. And my friends like didn't have an idea. And the day before, I'm like, bro, guys, we need something. So I just made cookies and we made like these Nutella cookies, sold cookies, and then used the profits we had bought to buy another table's cookies and then resell them as well. So listen, looking back now, that was entrepreneurial thinking, but I was not an entrepreneur. My main goal was to go and play football professionally, right? I was just playing League of Ireland football, right? Trying to get better every day. I was obsessed with football, and my mom made sure that I was taking my academics seriously. So if football didn't work out, I'm gonna go and study at a good university and then get a job, right? Maybe as a scientist. I like science. Entrepreneurship, bro, like that was never in my head. Never. Not even, it wasn't even something I would have thought of at all.
That's amazing. That's such a different switch up. I'm obviously now I've seen a couple videos of you kicking the ball about, so you're not too bad, but like you're not a pro. So what changed there? I mean, like what was that? The
Yeah, so, COVID happened and I was in under 19s and it was meant to be my last season in under 19s.
Yeah,
And so I needed to perform really well to get a contract. And I thought, man, I can do this. I've trained with the first team once. If I have a really good season this year, I'm sure they'll give me an offer to be like on the first team. So I'm preparing. Preseason's going incredible. I'm feeling the best shape of my life.
yeah,
March comes along, first game of the season, and the first ever lockdown we ever had was that weekend. The game's cancelled because of the lockdown. Okay, it's okay. It's only one game, two games, three
mm,
weeks, 4 weeks. And so the whole summer ended and we didn't play football. And so that was my last season. And then I was going into my final year in school at sixth year, and my mom wanted me to take college school a lot more serious. So now my mom wanted me to take school a lot more serious. I was, not playing football now for Longford Town. I'd finished there. And my mom's like, listen, you got to take school serious now because you need to get a good degree, right? And at the time as well, this is when I first started to think about making money because now I was like, okay, I'm not doing this football thing yet anymore, really. Who knows? It wasn't completely dead. Still
yeah,
believed it was possible. But I have to take school seriously. But like, I come from a home where, it was really just my mom and my
mm,
sister. I knew I wanted to provide. The only reason I wanted to become a footballer is because footballers make a lot of money, obviously. I love football, but also it's probably because they're successful and make money. So I thought, okay, I'll be able to take care of my family. And I remember at the time around me, influences and stuff, like the only people that I seen that were making money, as a young person, if you were young and you see another young person with a nice car, and like it was usually somebody who was either like selling like drugs or like in with like fraud or something. Like this like credit card frauds. And that was a big thing in like the community around like where I was, like with like like black people, African people and stuff. They were kind of involved in these sort of like groups. And I remember one time, like, even out of desperation, somebody like talked to me about it. I was like, you know what? Like, maybe it's not so bad. Like, maybe like, I'm gonna make €1,000. Maybe I'll just give them my card, my bank details, and like, they'll do whatever they're gonna do, and I'll make €1,000, and it's not that bad. And I remember I gave them my card details, and then like 3 days later, I was like, I was a good kid. I was like, no, no, actually, you know what? I don't want to do this. Don't put my card details anywhere. I don't want to be involved with anything. And
mm.
like nearly like 12 months later, the story goes on. They ended up using my bank details anyways in the future. And I got a telling off. And that really showed me as well, like, wow, like I think Ireland needs more examples of young people making money in a real way. Because I'm sure a lot of young people get sucked into things that they don't want to be involved in because they just think this is the only way that I can be successful, right? And that became a passion of mine. It was in that year where I kind of became like a my passion now is to be a really good example of somebody that's really successful, has a great lifestyle, does what he wants, but it's from being good at what he does. You know,
Mhm.
it's from helping and being good and not from something like drugs or fraud or these things that I feel like affect a lot of people in Ireland. And that was where the drive came from. That was the story that sparked the, I have to make one example at least.
And why did you kind of feel responsible to take that upon yourself?
Because I'd seen how like it nearly affected my life. I saw how I could have just gone down a wrong path really quickly or made a really bad mistake, and I wasn't a bad person. And so, why did I feel responsible? I don't know. You know, I don't. I'm sure everybody doesn't wake up and go, okay, that means that I need to now go and become an example of that. Um, Maybe that was just something from me. I was a natural leader. You know, I was a captain sometimes growing up, and so I was somebody that I'm outspoken and I felt I always like to lead a little bit, you know, growing up. So maybe I felt, I don't like to use the word a calling, but I felt an internal something that I should just do it. I actually don't know why. I can't answer the question. Obviously, there might be destiny or other influences in my life at the time, but maybe I just thought, yeah, listen, it would be good to be an example for other people.
Mhm. Mhm. And you mentioned that I wanted to touch on this because I know that you are absolutely you're a man that could talk on this subject for hours, and I'll try not to keep you here. But you mentioned
Yeah.
Earl and kind of energy. Talk to us a bit about kind of where you've actually why you started like actually looking into this.
Yeah, obviously when I got started in, door-to-door sales, I was just going out and being, pushing on each door. But I started to like, watch a lot of podcasts, YouTube videos from successful people from the UK, America. And something I kind of would start to hear often was I would start to hear about like your mind, the subconscious mind or like attracting things to yourself. And I was like, man, what is this stuff? Like this is wishy-washy, law of attraction, manifestation. But I just had to do research and figure it out. And I saw that so many successful people said this exact word. And I was like, okay, there must be something behind it. And I picked up the book Think and Grow Rich, which I have here in front of me. This book here, Think and Grow Rich. Uh,
Amazing.
I picked this book up and I said, all right, I've heard Think and Grow Rich a few times now. I'll give it a
Yeah.
listen. And what it says in the first pages of Think and Grow Rich, it says, whether or not you believe that these things are true, that I'm going to write in this book about your subconscious mind, about like programming, I don't care. It doesn't matter. Just do it for 30 days and then come back.
Mm,
Easy. All right. I don't know if I even believe this or not. I'm just going to. And so it was talking about things like autosuggestion, which is the ability is writing down things and repeating it back to yourself over and over again. It was talking about things about your subconscious mind. It's talking about things about dedication, the infinite intelligence. And so I followed it. At this point, I was getting into the online world of sales. I started writing out each day what my next goal was I make 10K a month with sales this month. I make 10K a month. And I would write it out every single day, 2 times a day. And I did that for probably maybe a month and a half, 2 months. And by the second month, month two, I made my first 10K. Like this was like 19 and 2022. And I was like, whoa. That is it. But now let me just tell you one thing. When I made that amount, I completely forgot and discredited that how much impact doing that had had on me. Because as I'm doing that, obviously that doesn't make just the money come. I was obviously doing sales calls and working and getting watching sales videos. So after
yeah.
a while, you can build up an ego and just think, maybe I just got really good. And over the next year and a bit in business, I was still doing well, but I wasn't growing as much. And I started to notice a pattern. Whenever I was reading something about like Think and Grow Rich or, mindset or subconscious mind, and I was applying it, my went this way. And whenever I went out on my own and was like just working, grinding, and like following like business principles, my income went like this. And my happiness and my effort was up here.
Mm,
That's when I then become obsessed back in like 2020, late 2023. I was like, okay, I really need to understand energy, consciousness, subconscious mind, because anytime I know I follow this, I am doing really well. How can I make sure that I never stop this for the rest of my life?
mm. And when you say the subconscious mind, what do you mean by that?
Yeah. So we have basically two minds, and this was all talked about by a guy called Carl Jung, right? Carl Jung, they would call him kind of like the father of psychology, of modern psychology. So he's a very big psychologist back in the day. You can look up Carl Jung, very respected. And him and Sigmund Freud was this other guy as well back then. They basically discovered that we've got something called the subconscious or unconscious mind, meaning we think right now. So he was thinking, Josh is thinking, blah, 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 blah. But then there is stuff that goes on beneath that that we're not aware of, meaning we're not conscious that we're thinking of it. That's why it's called your conscious thought and your subconscious. It's below your Imagine an iceberg. You see the top of it. The iceberg at the top is what we think on a daily basis. What's beneath the water is what goes on in the back of our minds without us knowing. And your subconscious mind is like kind of like formed a lot through your years of 0 to 12 years old. So from the age of 0 to 12, everything you kind of see kind of impresses on your subconscious mind. And then you become like 13, 14, and that's how you then view the world, but you don't realize it. You're not aware of it.
Yeah.
Why? Because most of us don't remember really being a kid. So you can't really remember every day. But what the whole concept is that your subconscious mind is the actual driver. What you have in your conscious mind is just the effect of something that's been prompted from your subconscious, every belief. And so
Mm.
if you can get into your subconscious, right? If you can get into your subconscious, you can find out, why do I feel not confident? Why do I not think I'm good enough? Why do I like think I have to work so hard to prove myself? Why do I feel like that? Because I feel that, I think that, but that's not the issue. The issue is the thing beneath it, behind there. And that's what I became obsessed with, and how you can then reprogram the subconscious, remove those things that are in there and place in something better.
Mm. And if somebody might be thinking like, okay, how could I even like where can I even get started? Like if you were to say like
Yeah.
one tip to kind of start understanding and learning more about subconscious mind, what would that be?
The first thing I would say is read the book The Untethered Soul. I wish I'd read this book at the start to save me so much time. I always say, guys, listen, my whole goal is that people do this a lot easier and faster than I did because,
Yeah.
again, I have to try and figure a lot of this stuff out on my own. And there's certain books now that I'm like, damn, if I'd read that book since day one, that's it. The Untethered Soul by Michael A. Singer. It's written by a guy who ended up selling his company for nearly $1 billion, over $1 billion in the US, a software company. But he talks a lot about in this book. He was a big into his mind and the voices that you have in your head. The
Yeah.
untethered soul explains this thing and it calls it like you're a roommate. You've got this roommate sitting in the back of your head. So first of all, you need to understand your roommate because you can't work on it if you don't know you have a roommate in there, right?
Mm.
You got to hear him and be like, "Hey, buddy, like I don't listen to you anymore. I don't work with you." So that's a really good book. And then once you have a grasp on that, you will start doing something called reprogramming it. So how your subconscious mind works is this. Listen to this. Your conscious mind is when you say, I don't like this, I don't like that. I agree with this, I don't agree with that. Your subconscious mind takes in everything, whether you agree with it or not. This is why I
Mm.
always advise people to stay away from negative people or negative news or listening to bad music because whether you agree with it or not, it's getting
Yeah.
into your subconscious mind. Now, we can use this in our favor. Why? Because consciously, if I tell you to tell yourself that you're successful and rich, whatever, you're like, I don't believe that because I'm not. Because today
Yeah.
my card declined for 20 euro on McDonald's. So I know that I'm not rich and successful. I get it. Now, your subconscious mind does it. So when you say I'm rich and I'm successful, your subconscious mind goes, got it. Thanks. Right? Now, obviously, that's only once. The
Mm.
more times you impress it over and over and over and over again, it will now actually build that as its base belief. And then in your conscious mind, you'll start to think, I'm really successful. I'm rich. And so, what would a successful person do? Bang, I get this idea. I get that idea. I do this. And you will start to do the things that a successful person would do.
Yeah.
And you get all these crazy ideas, and you become all of a sudden, all your issues, procrastination, and whatever you ever have called yourself, you've had issues will disappear. People
Mm.
do it backwards. They try to work on procrastination. They try to work on their confidence. They try to work on these things. Don't worry about those. Those are only there because currently your subconscious mind is programmed in, I'm not good. I'm not good at what I do. Change the programming, and trust me, you will not have procrastination, lack of confidence, and all those things. It'll just disappear. How do we do this? Repetition, right? Write it out. Write a story of yourself that's a version that you're not right now. I am this in the present tense. My name is Hugh and I am very good and successful. In my life, I live here. I make X amount. I take care of my family. Read it every morning. Read it every night, especially at night, because at night, your subconscious mind is very open to being like to hear it because your brain's quiet. So at night, read this over and over again. Make vision boards. This is what I used to do back in the day. I have them all the time on my phone, right? Make vision boards, right? And look at it. Because again, your subconscious mind can see it. It sees this vision board and it thinks, okay, these things are in my life. And
Yeah.
over time, as you do this, slowly over time, your subconscious will start to change, right? Another good book is Psycho-Cybernetics. If anyone wants to look at that, Think and Grow Rich and Psycho-Cybernetics, Pyso. There are two amazing books, along with Untethered Soul. Those three that will change any listeners today that's listening. That will change your life forever. If you read those three books and actually apply what they say, that is it. It's incredible. So that's how the subconscious mind works. I know I got very deep into it, but I hope that was enough.
No, that was amazing. That's really interesting. And I want to kind of go back to something we were talking about earlier,
Yeah,
more on the transformation to how you got to where you are today. So
yeah.
obviously you're in school, in college, and what happened? Like
Yeah.
what went wrong?
So I'm in college. I went to DCU in
Yeah,
Dublin. I actually didn't want to go to DC originally. I wanted to go to the UK to study human biology at Loughborough University, but I didn't get accepted to the university, right?
yeah,
And because I didn't get accepted to the university, I then was like, man, I'm just gonna have to go to something else regardless. And so then
mm,
I ended up going to DCU, studied biotechnology, and I got a college. I was playing for the university team. But I just started like first taste of freedom. I was 18, first time I was first freedom ever. Like this is
yeah,
great. I'm living away from family. Freshers week, there's parties going all the time. I started going out with my friends. I had a great group of friends there, and we were drinking on a Tuesday, drinking on a Wednesday, on a Thursday, drinking on a Saturday, drinking, going out, having a great time. And there's nothing
mm,
wrong with that. I had a great time, and I actually really enjoyed those memories with the friends. Starting off. When you're young, you're young only once. Sometimes you got to live. And so we had a
yeah,
great time. But it got to the December, only 2 months in, and I was like, man, I really don't like my course. And like, the novelty of going out and drinking with my friends is kind of worn off. It was cool for the first 6 or 7 weeks, but it's not really cool after that. I
yeah,
feel like I'm just doing the same thing over and over again. I'm starting to feel like I'm not growing. Because in my life, at that point, I was always improving one season to the next season.
mm,
Going from one year at school to another year. And I started to feel like I was stagnating. And that started to feel very, very scary to me. And I remember I got to a very low point in university in DCU where I honestly wouldn't even get out of my bed
wow,
during the day. And I would only get out of my bed at like 7 p.m. to go to training because I was just so like depressed. I couldn't, I felt like I didn't know what I was doing in my course. There was physics, calculus, all these things that I just didn't like. It was difficult. I sometimes sat down, I was like, I'm gonna make it work, and I couldn't get through my work. And I just felt like a massive roadblock. And I never up to that point knew what the term depression meant. I never thought, I've always been a jolly, happy person most of my life.
yeah,
But I can understand whenever you feel like no matter what you do, there's an unmovable roadblock in front of you, which now I know is not true because everything's about your perspective and your way of seeing it and your
yeah,
consciousness and your belief. But at the time, I didn't know that. I then felt like I was helpless and I felt depressed. And so one day I'm walking home from university, December 2021, and I just call my mom. I'm just like, Mom, like, start crying. Like, my course, I'm not able to do well. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not happy. And my mom was someone I always wanted to please and make sure that I was doing well because she done a lot for myself growing up and my sister, and she's been through so much. I didn't want to disappoint her. I never thought not going to school. And she was just like, listen, son, just come home. Come
yeah,
home, and it's better for you to take that break out of college and you can come back next year and we can get a new course. And that was massive. That honestly, till this day, I thank my mom for that because that gave me the space that I needed to realize who I was and what I actually wanted to do. And the next year, obviously, I went into door-to-door sales in 2022, and that completely changed my life. So if I had never done that, if my mom had never let me drop out of college, the rest would have never happened.
Yeah, I think sometimes when we're pushed into like such uncomfortable like situations, like instead of just being like kind of uncomfortable, but when you're in like the deep end, it's
Yeah.
almost better for you because you're like, okay, now I have to get out of here instead of just,
Yeah.
oh, okay, I'll go ahead with this. And then what was it that actually made you want to get into door to door sales? Because I mean,
Yeah.
that's not the most common job, really.
I mean, I have a friend back home, and he was playing football as well from my hometown, and I'm friends with his sister and himself. They were like two very good friends of mine, and are still two great friends of mine. And I would go often to their house, and I saw like their dad, their mom has a nice car outside. It's like, damn, it's pretty nice, two nice BMWs outside.
Mm,
And I remember one time the dad was dropping me home, and I was just like, what do you guys do? Like, how did you guys do this? And he was like, yeah, he's in medical sales, right? So they had done medical sales, putting in medical products into hospitals and different things like that in Ireland, Lidl, Aldi. And he was just telling me this story about how he had not done well in his leaving cert, like got the lowest points you can or whatever, not done great when he was like 16, moved
yeah,
to England, got a job in a hotel, just worked in the hotel, then came back to Ireland, worked his way as a hotel in that from a wait in the hotel there to like a manager position, helped open a new hotel that was going on, got into medical sales, etc., etc. The rest is history. Was very successful. They've done very, very well. And in my town, they've got one of the nicest homes in our town and where we're from. And so for me, that was the first time I'd ever heard of sales. And I was just like, okay, my goal, remember, was just to make enough money because I want to take care of my family. So once football wasn't a thing, the next thing for me was like, okay, it's either I'm gonna have to make money through my job. Like, I need a job that I can make 100K a year. That was my goal. Can I make 100K a year from my job? And I used to Google which job makes you the most money. And I used to see once in a while I would see pharmaceutical sales,
yeah,
medical sales. And then he's telling me medical sales. I'm like, okay, there's something in this sales thing. It's not that I wanted to do sales. Whatever the top job was there, by the way, though, I would have like kind of gone into it. If it wasn't like computer science or something I didn't really like maths. So I can do medical sales. That's easy. So what do? You go to college, you get a degree for 4 years in something in science, and then you go and work in a sales role in a company for like 2, 3 years, and then you combine the two, and now you can work in pharmaceutical sales. So it's like a 7 year journey. So I was like, okay, I've dropped out of college. I'm gonna be going back in September. In the meantime, why don't I get some sales skills in the meantime, right? Why don't
yeah,
I get some sales skills in the meantime so I can add that to my CV, by the way, before I actually quit, right? And before I actually finish doing things, why don't I add that to my CV? So that's why I went and got a door-to-door sales job, because that was the only job that I could find, right? The only job that I could find that I could just get into it, do sales, and put it on my CV without having like to have experience. And I think I saw an ad from Phone Watch. I was working at the time in Nike in Blanchardstown in a job, and I told my mom I want to work this door-to-door job, and there's like no base. No base. It's just commission only. My mom's like, my mom's a good woman and she's always supported me. She's normal mother worried. She's like sending me
yeah,
reviews like nobody makes money here. Do not do this. That's what the reviews were like online. Like, this will not work. And I'm like, Mom, you never know. Just let me try it out. So
yeah.
that's why I did door-to-door sales.
And then what was the progression from door to door into online sales? Because there's a lot of
Yeah.
kind of stay
Yeah.
kind of physical sales.
So I did door-to-door sales at January 2022. I started that. And 2, 3 months in, I was doing pretty well. I was one of the top five in Ireland with Phone Watch. I had got really good at sales. I used to come home, watch videos on Jordan Belfort, Jeremy Minor every day. I would knock, go again and again. And eventually I got good. And in one of my best months in around April, I made like 4,500 euro,
Yeah,
maybe. I was 19. This dropout, the most I'd ever made before was like 1,000 euro in a month, working a normal job. So my mind now went, oh my God, you can actually make money in another way than I don't even have a degree, but I'm making what I would have made. And at that point, I'd only thought you could make money with a degree. Because I'm telling you, like, Hugh, I was not like entrepreneurial. It's not like I knew I was gonna like be an entrepreneur or make money online. Like, I was fully like the best way to go is to get a good degree and make it and get a good job.
Wow.
But I was like, I made 4.5K. When I'm coming out of college, I'm gonna be making like 20K. Like, so I just realized that there was a route that's not the same as others. And that got me very interested in alternative routes. And that's when I started to like look online, watching YouTube videos. I started to become aware of this sort of like online entrepreneur, young people who make money from like marketing. I was thinking, look, I was like, maybe I start a social media marketing agency. Maybe I start a Facebook ads agency. I started all these little side things during that time in door to door because in my mind, I started to think, I don't want to go back to college in September. But my mom's not gonna let me not go back to college to continue doing door-to-door sales, right? Making 3, 4K a month. And even for me, I could already see the ceiling. I don't think I'm gonna do this for the rest of my life. I wouldn't
Yeah.
do door-to-door sales. It's grueling, it's a lot of energy. But if I can find a way to make this is the problem. It's literally I set a challenge. If I can find a way to make 10K by September, I won't go back to college. 10K in a month. That was what I said to myself.
Mm.
But I started to look, and then I heard about high ticket sales one day. I think when I first heard about high ticket sales, I thought they were selling tickets. It's like, damn, we're gonna be selling tickets to like Beyonce concerts, are we? Let's do it. I was open to anything, but then I learned that it's like you're selling high ticketed, like high priced items, right?
Yeah.
Like an agency service, like a course, whatever it is that you're selling, something that's just a higher ticket, and you're working for a company. I thought this might be better than selling alarm systems and making 25 euro or 200 euro per sale. With this sales, if I sell a product and it's worth 5,000 euro, I make 500 euro.
Mm. Yeah.
So I started to look into getting into high ticket sales and I invested in a program. At the time, I'd never heard of anybody who had invested in a course. I didn't even tell my mom because the amount I put into it, I think it was maybe like 3K or something, was like all I had in my bank account at the time.
Yeah.
So I put the money into it and I did not tell my mom. If I had told my mom that I spent 3,000 euro, oh God, she would have absolutely lost it. So I just didn't tell her. And I bought the program, started going through it, doing the course, the sales training, and then I got a role. In August, I quit door-to-door sales and I was in Canada with my family on a family holiday to see some of my cousins. And in the next month, I was going to be starting my course in the UK at Loughborough University, which is a really good sports university. And I'd gotten an offer to go there. I'd applied. I already had my accommodation. I already signed that I'm going. And I was literally just away on holidays for like 3 weeks. And when I come back, I start in college. While I'm away, this community that I'm in, I apply for a sales role and I do the interview. And I'm like, listen, I really want to get this job. The on target earnings is 10K a month. I have no experience in the high ticket world, but I begged the manager, like, listen, I am really good. Trust me. He's like, you don't have any experience. I wouldn't even give you usually a chance, but I'll give you a chance in the second interview. My gut tells me to just let you go to the second interview because I had no experience in the high ticket world. So like I wasn't that great. That's why I always tell people who start in sales, it's not about your experience, it's about your belief, about
Mm.
what you show people, because that's how I got into the industry. I had no role before this, by the way, in the high ticket world.
Yeah.
I do the second interview. I prepare so much for my mock interview. I do the sales script and I crush it. And he's like, wow. I want to give you the role. So they were bringing on 4 people. This company was a big company in the US, in the Amazon FBA industry, and they were doing like 1 million per month. And I was like, wow. Like if pretty much in my mind, if I did well with this role, I would make around like 10K a month. But remember, I'm going back to college in a month, in like 3 weeks. Mom's note, so I finished it, go downstairs, tell my mom I need to have a conversation with you, pulled her aside, tell her, listen, I can imagine what she's thinking. In her mind, she's like, I'm saying, hey, I've got this role, this job from this random person on the internet that has not paid me any money, but I'm going to make 10K and I'm not going back to college. She must have thought this guy has lost his nut.
Yeah.
He's lost it. My mom called my auntie. She was there because my uncles. They all formed like a emergency meeting, right? Because this guy might have gone loose. And one of my cousins had told me at the time, before I went to go, because I told my cousin what I was going to do, she was like, listen, if you're going to go and ask, don't go to ask. Because if you go and ask, they're going to convince you to not do it.
Yeah.
You need to go to tell them that that's what you're going to do.
Yeah.
That was a big thing because I remember the time that they did not tell me to ask. If I'd gone in there to ask, like, this is what I want to do, what do you guys think? Not a chance. But I went in with the mentality that I'd already made the decision. I'm just telling you guys.
Mm.
And they tried and they tried, but I said no. So I came back home to Ireland from the holiday. My mom was furious, didn't like talk to me in the house, and I'm just in my bedroom. Well, she talked, but she just wasn't like happy, and I get it. By the way, I love me and my mom. She's my biggest supporter, and she'll tell. It's funniest thing now is she'll tell anybody to get into sales. People will knock on the door, and she'll be like, "You should get into remote sales online," or like she'll be telling other people about it. At the time, she just never seen it and never heard about it, so it's not her fault. She was
Mm.
actually quite open-minded, my mom in general, compared to other parents, which is why I think I had the confidence to even try and ask her. Because she was a bit more open-minded. But I think she just was like, not, she just didn't want me to be disappointed. So I was in
Mm.
my bedroom with my HP laptop, right, taking these sales calls, right? All my friends are in college. I'm making no money. I'm back in Virginia, no degree, taking these sales calls every single day. Never heard of anybody that I know personally that's done this, taking these sales calls.
Yeah.
Boom. Close a deal. Wow. €500. Close another deal. So my first month, I make like 2.5K or 3K because I was just onboarding.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's real. And my mom still waits to say, like, when have they paid you? Have they paid you yet? Because
Yeah.
I'm like, it's real. It's real. I just made 3K. Still not what I said it was going to be because I
Mm.
thought it has to be so good that my mom's like,
Blown
oh,
away.
I don't
Yeah.
even like know what this is, but fair play. Like, keep on going.
Mm.
3K is like, it's good, but you should go get a degree.
Yeah.
So this is the time that I started reading Think and Grow Rich. Remember, I told you that.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is where that story coincides. And then that October, I believe I was October 2022, I was just turning, what was I turning that year? 20, right? Just in that month, I started taking a sales call each day. I wake up, my routine was simple. Wake up, go to my local gym, listen to some good music, come back. I started getting a little bit into meditation, do like a meditation for like 10 minutes, get before my calls, do my pre-call prompt. Today's gonna be a success because A, B, C, and D. Jump into the calendar, take my calls, finish the day, put it on my whiteboard where I'm at. I used to scribble on my whiteboard like how far I am towards 10K. Start scribbling, starts getting closer, starts getting closer. I finish the month and I make €11,000 in commissions that month. And I remember, I go into my mom's room. I'm like, Mom, like this month, like I made like 10K. And she's like, you know what, son, like I don't even know what you're doing, how this stuff, online stuff works, etc. But it seems you know what you're doing, and now I'm learning to like just that I can just trust you. And I'm very proud of you and just keep doing what you're doing. And I still remember that night. That night was like, wow. Because before that, I was almost trying to prove to everybody, my mom, my aunties, everyone in my family, trying to prove to everybody that this was going to work, which is a lot of pressure. Because everybody, there's this meme in the business world, which is when everybody asks, "How's your little business going? How's that business that you're going?" Right? That's how it always starts. So if you're listening to this, guys, if that's just part and parcel of being an entrepreneur, you get that question, "How's that business thing that you're going?" Oh, okay, it's going good, right? For a long time, even guys, when I was making 10K a month, I still had family members being like, "Oh, are you gonna go back? Are you going back to college soon? Like, what's your plans for college?" Like, for
Yeah.
a long, after a while, you have to learn to just, it's not anybody else's fault. It's not their life. They don't really understand. Don't take it personal. It's a different world. That's what I used to look at it as. Like, I'm not angry at my parents or anybody. It's a different world that we are born into. And they don't understand that. And that is okay.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
would say this, I would be doing my parents and my family a disservice if I understand this because I can see it and I was born in this world and I have examples, but
Yeah.
because they can't see it, I don't do it. That's how I viewed it. That would be a massive disservice,
Mm.
right? Imagine someone said, "Hey, like we're all starving. You're on the island with your family, you're starving, right? And you go somewhere and behind a tree, you see a stack of food, bread, bananas, fruits. You see
Mm.
everything there. You go back to tell your family, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I just checked there. There was no like fruit and stuff. I didn't see anything there. I don't think I wouldn't check there." And you just saw this. You could literally go and just be like, "Oh, it's over here." But you're like, "Okay, sure." Because it's my mom and my dad, because it's my aunties and my uncles, I'm just gonna Follow along and let's go. That's how
Mm,
it looks to me. I
yeah,
can see this world. I can see the online world. I know it's real. I've watched many podcasts, YouTube videos. I've heard of people. I know this stuff works. My parents don't understand this at all because this world is just so not the same as theirs.
yeah,
I have to do this, but I
mm,
cannot be annoyed at them for not understanding. Not at all, right?
yeah. Yeah, that's a really good point. I feel like a lot of people, like when your parents might be saying like, "Oh no, don't do this. Like it's risky. It's risky." You might just get mad and you might just be like, "Oh no, you don't get it. You don't get it." But like they're from like a whole new generation. Like it's
Yeah,
completely different. And I want to ask as well because obviously you're not still closing. You've managed to manage sales teams to 1 million a month in 6 months. So what was that mindset shift to get you from making 10K a month to six figures a month? Like what changed?
yeah. I think the biggest mindset shift for me was not chasing money and first of all chasing the identity or the frequency that I step into. And this is when I got, so I was doing obviously that 10K a month as a sales rep 2022. 2023, I'm still closing here and there, but I start getting into like sales management, like managing sales teams
Yeah.
for some companies online. And so my income is going up a little bit, 10, 15K a month. But I kept on going up and down. 2023 was a year where my income kind of like stayed the same.
Mm.
Which you might say is like, why would you complain? That's pretty good.
Yeah.
But like, I obviously wanted to go to the next numbers and grow and grow and grow. I was like, man, I worked so hard this year. I put in 12 hours every single day, and I didn't make that much progress income-wise. What's going on? And I really realized that it's not about hard work, right? It's about your mind, your frequency, your subconscious mind. And I was working hard, but I was working in the mindset of this might not work. This might go wrong. What if this is going to happen? And so I was creating all these issues in my life. And so I wanted to really master the ability to create the reality that I wanted. And that's what Affinity, the logo for Affinity Sales Strategy stands for, which is create reality. So that's when I went all in. I was living in Spain at the time. I mean, in Milan. I moved to Spain to Alicante by myself. And I started to really research and read about your mind, subconscious mind, energy. For any book possible I would read it. Parallel Universe of Self, Levels of Energy, all these different books, I was just picking them up. And I managed to get a mentor at the time as well. His name was Nero Knowledge.
Yeah.
And he wasn't like too famous on YouTube. A lot of people would know him now, like 500,000 subscribers. But he was like, he has a couple of thousand subscribers and he mentored me. And I just really learned a lot about the power of the subconscious mind scientifically and stuff. And I realized that like 99% of the world really has no clue how their mind actually works and how
Mm.
you can actually program it and prime itself to create what you want and what it can in terms of like its full limit. The people say, well, you can't make anything of what you want, it's whatever you get. But I'll say this, you have a body and you have a brain. And your body and your brain has a specific level of things that it can do. Its limits are not what you have right now. Its limits are what you can make it do. So people who say, "Oh, well, you can only do what you get," that's you are not using your own potential that's been given to you. Whether you believe in God or not, by God or whatever, you're not using the full ability of it. If I learn these things, obviously somebody created it to be used. Somebody created the mind so that you could understand, oh wow, if I think this way and program my subconscious, it will solve big issues and figure its way out to get you there. But we lost this knowledge and we think that our mind is whatever happens to it. And
Yeah.
so that was the big change for me because I saw so many people work so hard in the business world and they stayed at that level. No issue with it at all, but they stayed at 10, 15K and they worked really hard. I started to work less, but then I got back into the world of business. Then at the end of 2024, I basically took like 2024 out of the business world to kind of like master this stuff. And then
Mm.
2024, I come back to running a sales team. And my goal was to teach the whole sales team this stuff. If I teach the sales team this stuff, they'll perform even better. So I
Yeah.
started to teach them all about mindset, consciousness, and that company grew, as he said, from like 400K a month to 1.3 million in 30 days, then 1.4, then 1.5, then we hit 2 million a month in 2020 in 2020 in 2025, and the company's still doing over around 2 million a month. I then launched another team for a very, very big creator you might know, Shelby Sapp. I launched her sales team, and we and that went to like 1.3 million. And nowadays, I think that company's probably doing around 3 to 4 million per month. And so, in the space of 1 year, I just 10 100x'd my ability in the world of business. And it was 100% because I 10x'd my mindset. The year before, I barely made the money I wanted to make. Everybody
Mm,
thought, what's Josh doing? In 2024, people thought, Josh used to be good, but he's kind of fallen off. He's back home in Ireland. Things are not going great. But this is
yeah.
the thing, guys. Sometimes what I call this the slingshot. If you want to sling, if you put something into a sling, you only pull it back this way, it goes X far. If you want to go really far, you got to pull it back a lot. So
Mm,
in your life, when you want to go really far, sometimes you need to pull back a lot more. Like you got to pull back in terms of like maybe it looks like you're not making that much money, but you're growing the potential of what you can make because of the way what you're learning. Or maybe you're working on a different type of project which has such a bigger outcome, but definitely won't pay you the money you want immediately. And that's a concept that I believe I picked up on and has helped me to be as successful as I am today.
amazing. I love it. I love the kind of the subconscious and the frequency. It's amazing. It's amazing how in depth you can go into it as well. And I'll wrap this up now, but one last question. If me and you were to die today, Josh, what's one last piece of advice you would leave for the younger generation?
Hmm. One last piece I would leave for the younger generation. I would say everything that you're looking for in the world, you can attain it internally. And if you can get it internally, you don't actually need anything externally.
Mm,
Everything you're looking for in this world, you can gain internally. 10 million, 100 million, 1 billion, a house, partner, whatever it is. And if you can get that internally, which you can through mindset work, subconscious work, going back to your childhood work, you won't need anything or want anything really externally, right? So that's a big belief that I have is that the external world, what everything that you want, you're chasing, it's just things that are going to fix potential holes you have inside of yourself. And if
yeah,
you fix the holes inside, you're going to be the happiest person in the world. And now you don't chase things. You're like in the world just because why not? You do
yeah,
things because like, why not? I do it because it's fun. I do it because I enjoy it. I do it because if it works out, great. If it doesn't work out, great. That is the true way to live in the world.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that'll be my message.
Amazing, amazing. Well, look, Josh, I don't want to keep you much longer, but I've thoroughly enjoyed this. I've definitely learned a lot from it. I'm gonna leave the Affinity Instagram and your own Instagram, just so if people want to reach out, that they can connect with you as well. But thank you so much
Yes.
for really.
No, thank you very, very much, Hugh, for having me on. I think this is like my second podcast or something only ever.
Uh,
So this is really, really good. I really, really enjoyed this. You asked some amazing questions. And yeah, to a very, very good 2026. Keep it up.
Thanks, Josh. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Good luck. See you then.